The sanctions imposed by the United States on many Russian oligarchs and government officials. The Russian Foreign Ministry saying that it will respond in a tough way to U.S. sanctions and that it will not leave U.S. sanctions unanswered. It says you cannot speak to the U.S. in the language of sanctions and that thousands of U.S. jobs depend on Russian firms hit by sanctions. It goes on to say, the Russian Foreign Ministry, that Washington is hurting its own voters and its own economic interests. So some strong words from the Russian Foreign Ministry in response to those sanctions that were announced today.
It's far worse than observers predicted. General Motors stock has experienced its sharpest decline since the economic crisis of 2008. This follows the announcement that the company's CEO was denied a Russian visa. He had planned a vacation in the town of Gudermes in the Chechen Republic. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg's accounts at Sberbank have been frozen. Mogul Donald Trump's plans to develop a line of kiosks along the Metro Blue line have been stopped in its tracks. A group of U.S. senators were turned around at Moscow's Domodedovo airport, their vacation to the Chelyabinsk region vanished right at passport control.
It's chaos. Here I am, I'm working in Congress, we're trying to put this bill together. We think, what could the Russians possibly do for us? What could they possibly do against us? Now, all of a sudden, like my life savings of everyone I know, and we're not able to access it because we had it over in Alpha Bank. It's gone. You know, how are we supposed to live our lives without access to the Russian financial system? We can't get access to Moscow banks. It's over. And I mean, it's not even the money, though. I mean, money is one thing. It's quality of life. Every year, all of us, look, we all know, everyone in Congress, where do we go? We go to Voronezh, and that's where you go and you spend your summer. Now suddenly you can't do that. I mean, Voronezh, Saratov, Samara, and we have to go to Paris or London. It's no way to live a life.
But the company that's been hit hardest is Apple. Long lines of people returning the iPhone 5. The model is not equipped with the Russian GLONASS satellite system, rendering it useless. Recently, thousands gathered in Manhattan to protest the Russian government's ban on the sale of the Lada Kalina in the United States. The protests in Washington, however, were more basic: the right to send mail. The Russian Postal Service has annulled its information sharing agreement with the U.S. Postal Service. Behind me is the area of town that used to be known as the American Quarter for the scores of Americans who had moved here after losing faith in the United States. They had moved here in order to invest in the dream that was Russia, but after the passage of the Bout Act in the Duma, they have now lost faith in Russia itself, sold their investments, and returned to whatever awaits them in the United States.
And I don't know by what right that prick Putin has to do this to ordinary people. I mean, I'll give you an example. I have a 10-year-old son, and he loves Lego. And he's a genius with Lego. And ever since this fucking Boot Act, you can't get Lego anymore. And I go around in the middle of the night looking for Lego. And just the middle of the other night, I mean, I have to carry a knife to be safe, and I found a little minifigure of Yoda. $3,000 is what it costs right now. I can't afford that. I've got to go home and break my little boy's heart. And then I discover that because of this Victor Boot Act, I'm losing my little boy, because now when I come home, he's not there. He's out in the neighborhood with a gang of feral 8- and 10-year-olds threatening people for their Lego pieces. And what they're doing now is it's gotten completely dystopian. I mean, they're grabbing fake false teeth out of people's mouths.
The White House is in a panic. Our sources confirm that Washington is ready to do whatever it takes. President Barack Obama is said to be meeting with Congress to convince them to amend the Magnitsky Act in such a way as to render it toothless.